So yeah, I've been hearing all kinds of stuff about how Marvel's not putting out good comic books. I don't know. I mean, I've got this issue of Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man. Looks great to me. Oh, I love that cover. Look at that. It's great. That great black and white costume, man. That is awesome. Really tells you a story. Like this is just great. I don't know what people's problems are. Man, nice splash page. Great. Look at that. That shot. That's really nice. Great artwork. Love that rain effect and everything. Yeah. Wow. Looks good to me. I don't know. I see classic Peter Parker. I don't see a bunch of replacement characters. No Gwenpool, whoever. I don't know. Whatever it's supposed to be. Man, I don't know what people's problems are. Look. Oh, there's a lizard. Man, he looks great there. Whew. Real villain there. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what everybody's been talking about. I mean, this is when was this bit out? Oh, 1987. Wah, wah. Hello, Cruel World. It's me, Russell Kirkman. This is another episode of Tweet Talk. And it's true what they say. I want to look over here because I can see my face. But the camera's over here. And that's where my eye line should be. Well, anyway. So this is another episode of Tweet Talk, where we talk all things nerdy. Nothing's off the table. Look at my eyes just darting around. Just see it. Ooh, there's my face. Looks horrible. Anyway. So, as I've said, my name is Russell Kirkman. I'm an actor, musician, writer, and I'm shameless plug time here. Just want to show you. I've written a novel. Oops, upside down. This is the artwork by yours truly for the Kindle cover. Not professional, you might say. But whatever, gets the job done. It's kind of funny. Anyways, as you see, the title is They Impel Unicorns, Don't They? That title just rolls right off the tongue. It's funny, some people have a very visceral reaction to this cover. One guy said that just looks so painful, like the worst. That's the worst way you could be stabbed. To me, it's just funny. I just see a bunch of lines, black lines and some red, whatever. Anyway, like I said, that is available on Kindle. I've been trying for years, well, a couple of years, to get it published. And of course, it's just as easy as breaking into, showbiz, all that good stuff. But I will keep you appraised if we ever do finally get a real publisher. It'd be wonderful. In the meantime, you can buy it on Kindle. It's a very funny novel, I like to say. Fantasy comedy. And it'll really piss off the SJWs. So that's what's really great. All kinds of offensiveness in there. All joking aside, though, today I would like to address Marvel and DC to a lesser extent, but Marvel's awesome responsibility as the leading comic book publisher in the field. Somewhat of a follow-up to my first video. Look for that. That's called Marvel, What Went Wrong and How to Fix It. And I just want to follow up a bit on thoughts that I started in that first video. The first responsibility that Marvel has, the current Marvel, is of course to the legacy of Stan Lee, all the amazing creators that worked in the early days that got it going. You think about this is an American institution, and also DC, of course. These are the original superheroes that created an American art form. That's actually, they say, jazzed and the modern comic strip, as we know it, is a true American, two of really the only true American original art forms. There has been, of course, been sequential art in the past, but in terms of having panels, word balloons following a story, or it's a sequence of events or dialogue, that's completely unique. We create it, and Marvel is one of the top examples of that currently existing. It's a true piece of history, and you have people working there now who have no respect, as far as at least to an outsider's view. They have almost no respect, I feel, and I think many of us feel, to that legacy and to the original creators. In fact, I remember a long time, this has been a while, but reading an interview with somebody, I don't remember who it was, but some article in the old Wizard magazine, which I miss a lot. They were saying, it was when they did the Winter Soldier story, and they brought back Bucky, who was supposed to be dead, that Stan Lee established, was died and gave him a good send-off, but he just wanted to bring back Captain America, and he felt Bucky wasn't really necessary, and he was kind of right. But at any rate, somebody even said, oh, you mean Stan Lee just did that retroactively? Well, then who cares? We're just going to change that retroactively. And that really spells out what I feel is, before this SJW stuff started, let's go back to the earlier 2000s. You know how they have the names of, for different ages of comics, like the Silver Age, the Golden Age. To me, the last 20 years has been the age of destruction or deconstruction, where they don't care at all about Marvel's history. In fact, are doing anything they can to change it, and have done so just to the point of complete, utter destruction, really, of anything that Marvel was about in the first place. Again, they retroactively did, they had the whole thing with Gwen Stacy. I already talked about that. What else? Of course, let's see, Marvel, Avengers disassembled. Because when they decide they're going to pay closer attention to something to make it popular, all they really know how to do is break it. And that's just been the story the whole time. To me, I feel like you start getting some truly sick individuals working there at Marvel. Again, I kind of bowed out buying comics at that time, but I kept up with it through reading Wizard, and also Comics Buyer's Guide magazine, another magazine I really, really miss in this day of internet domination. But there's nothing quite like the printed page, with carefully written, thoughtful articles. But anyway, lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? Well, at any rate, it's just been a complete... Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I've seen some of the artwork from the time, and some of that stuff wouldn't even make an R rating in movies. It would be a X, rated X or triple X, for just complete, utter violence and just total depravity. Just truly amazing. And the other awesome responsibility that Marvel and DC, well, again, mostly Marvel, but DC to a lesser extent, they're not fulfilling, is their responsibility to an entire industry. If you think about it, you have an industry depending on two corporations or large companies, corporate entities, to prop up an entire industry, being the comic industry. And I'm talking about other comic companies, of course, truly, at the end of the day, they depend on Marvel and DC for their existence, for getting people in the door. and also the comic stores themselves. We're talking about real people. This isn't just, you know, a bunch of man babies crying because, they don't like the way things are going in the comics. We're talking about real lives being affected. People who are raising their families. In fact, in the early 90s, my first sort of real job, I actually worked in San Antonio, where I'm from. I worked at a local comic chain. I won't mention the name, but they're still around. And that was a family-run business. And the guy who owned it, I'm not saying he was some saint. He was, a little bit of a shyster, but still, he and his wife raised a family, had three kids, all just so living from their business of running a comic book store chain. And this is what I'm talking about. These are real people with real families. And the fact that Marvel is just recklessly letting the industry die. And they truly are. At this point, they have to know what they're doing. We're beyond them they're just too stubborn. They have to know what's happening, and I don't think they actually care. Because frankly, and without getting too political, but it's kind of hard not to, we're talking about some far leftist, and let's just say it, communist, more than likely, people who would like to, we either all have to succumb to them and just, okay, we'll buy your comics, or they'll just let it die happily, because either way, they've killed the culture that we, the comic fans, help keep going for decades. And they have no consciousness about killing it. So the only people that we can really appeal to are the people at the very, very top. If there's anybody, any of the executives at either company, but against especially Marvel, if you have any interest in actually turning a profit and making the comics actually survive and be a thriving business, then you have to make changes. Severe, immediate changes. We're pleading with you out here in fandom land. Please do something. Get rid of all the SJW people. Make the artwork better. Do better printing. I heard that I never buy Marvel comics. I don't buy hardly any new comics ever anymore. I actually just buy back issues because I figure if I'm going to spend $5, I could get 2 or 3 back issues versus one new one that I have no interest in. But I had heard that the paper, that they're using the same paper for the covers as they are for the interior, and it's kind of cruddy paper. You may as well just go back to the old pulp paper with a nice glossy cover. Go back to the classics, make it a little cheaper, but more affordable, and you might see sales go up and interest be revived. But you've got to cut out the glut. I've seen the racks. They're just filled with Marvel, but they're not selling at the same time. And you're just keeping other people out of there. You need to pare it down to like 30 to 40 titles. Have the core titles. The true legacy titles need to have the top-notch talent, the absolute top pinnacle talent, writing and artwork, working on these things. And I'll bet you anything, there's some of the older writers are still out there. I mean, you had good writers back in the 90s who were young then, who I'm sure are still more than capable and willing to come back and write. And you've got to insist on better artwork too. Stores are closing at an alarming rate. Since I moved to Austin from San Antonio, I'd say I've seen at least 3 or 4 stores close down and not one single new one open up. Not one. And I've been here about about 15 years now. I haven't seen a single new store open, but I've seen many close down. And it's just inevitable. Eventually, they're all going to close down unless they change their focus. And for the fans out there, the best thing that you can do, if you want to at least keep your stores open, buy back issues, get the good stuff anyway. Treat yourself to the good stuff. If you're a younger fan, trust me, get the old stuff. It's so much better than what they're doing now. And let's just keep it going if we can. Well, that's it for today. I appreciate your attention. I apologize for the darting eyes. It's just too tempting. You have a great day. Thanks. Turn off.